Hey everyone, my name is Andy Gallegos. Now, some of you might know me as the youth librarian at the city of Maricopa. Some of you might know me as a friend, even a family member. But something you may not know about me is that I am Mexican. So, I have Hispanic heritage, and I am proud of that Hispanic heritage. So for celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th, I kept thinking to myself, who could possibly talk and do justice for what I would believe to be the embodiment of Hispanic heritage? And that led me to a place that I hold near and dear to my heart, and that is family. So I reached out and I got a hold of my tata. And for those of you who don't know, in the Spanish language, the word tata is usually associated with dad or even grandfather, but it's a very informal and very endearing term. I've always known my tata as just being my tata for as long as I can remember. His name is Manuel Ulibarri, and I had the privilege of getting a chance to meet with him and ask him some questions related to Hispanic heritage. And I was blown away by the kind of responses I got, and I hope that you find his responses meaningful and just influential as I do. So without further ado, let's go and hop on over and hear from Manuel Ulibarri himself. Okay. All right. So Tata, can you go ahead and tell us a bit about your past and how you came to be where you are today?
Yes. I was born in St. John's, Arizona, and I went to segregated schools there. We moved to Holbrook, and I quit school in high school. I didn't even get to the 5th grade. And there was no jobs there, so my mom, we already had two brothers in Korea, were serving during the Korean War. And I was 17, and I asked my mom to sign for me. She wouldn't do it. I had to beg her because she already had 2 boys in. And I said, Mom, there's no jobs here, and I've already quit school. I need to do something. So she finally signed for me, and I went to the Marine Corps at 17. I served for 3 years. I came home. I met my wife. But long story short, my dad got killed right after I got home, 16 hours after I got home. So I was the oldest one home, and so I had to help a lot. Then my wife's mother got sick, so we continued, both her and I, helping our families until we got married. And anyway, when I came home from the service, I joined the American Legion and the American GI Forum. The American GI Forum was an organization that was started by Sergeant Dr. Garcia in Texas because they wouldn't let minorities join the American Legion. So the American GI Forum has this history in Texas. But we started an organization, or a group there in Holbrook. And then I came to barber school. From barber school, we ended up in Flagstaff. I had my own shop. And immediately I got involved in politics, again for the same reasons. There was issues that we had to resolve. There's a lot of inequality with minorities. So I joined, and we had some members, but none of them wanted to be visible. And me not being, not caring, I did care, but I wondered. But I did join anyway, and I became president of the American Courting Council for 10 years because other people were afraid to serve. And we did a lot of good jobs, started a lot of programs, got a lot of good jobs for people, got people involved in the state, in the county. We elected a lot of people that helped us and believed like us. And because of my GI Bill, who I used to go to barber school and bought my own shop, I ended up going to NAU. Didn't finish, but because of that, I ended up being an inspector. And 5 years after that, I took over the department. But I'm most proud of my kids. I raised 6 boys, 6 who are my very own. I call them Mama. Ronald, who was a baby, my wife's baby brother. And Mo, who was Andy's dad, and he was 7, and we raised him. And I consider them all my boys, and I'm very proud of the fact that we did a good job with that. And but other than that, life's been good for me. We retired, Mom and I retired, and we just celebrated our 60th wedding anniversary, and had all my kids here just last week celebrating 1 year of her death, but everything's fine.
Well, what does to you, what does being Mexican or Hispanic, what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm very proud of being a Mexican American. You know, our families on both sides, my mom and my dad's, have been in the United States forever. When Padre Hidalgo signed the treaty with the United States, when they had the big Mexican-American War, Padre Hidalgo said any Mexicans that were on this side of the border that they lined up were going to be Americans. So we were already here. But my dad made sure that we spoke Spanish at home. My mom grew up in a ranch. She was born in the United States, but she was born in a ranch with a bunch of girls. And they didn't go out and get jobs in those days. She learned how to read and write Spanish from her grandma and her mom. But she couldn't speak English very well. So my dad made sure that we spoke Spanish at home. So all my brothers and my sisters, we learned how to speak Spanish. And later on, I tried to teach my kids, but in those days, they had this deal at school that if you try to learn Spanish or speak Spanish, they would smack you down. So my boys didn't want to learn it all that well. And when I tried to teach them, I said, Dad, you know, we don't want to learn that. But it was because they couldn't do it in school. And I'm sorry I didn't make them. Because as one of them told me one day, he said, Dad, you made us do everything else. Why didn't you make us learn how to speak Spanish? But I did. But my dad was very proud American. As I said, we have three of my brothers and I, all Marines. I have a grandson that's a Marine. I have nephews that are Marines. Because we're very, very proud of being an American and doing what we have to do. We all have to do something, and war is something that we don't want to do, but when you have to join, if you have to do something, then you want to do your part. And that's what we did. My dad was very proud that we did that. There was a young man running for board of supervisors, and I didn't know who he was. When I asked around, because I was brand new in Flagstaff, and I asked around, and they told me who he was. And one day he was walking by, and I asked him if I could help, and he was honored pretty sharp. I was pretty smart, and he found out where I was from and everything. And then he came back after a couple of weeks and asked me if I still wanted to help, and I said I would. So he told me about a restaurant that had just opened up. It had a lot of people going there, but he couldn't put a sign there. And he asked me if I knew the people. And of course, like I say, he probably had already found out that I did. I knew the people, and I went there. And I asked him, which is that restaurant still there, La Fonda in Flagstaff. I asked the owner if I could put some signs up, and he said, well, you know, Manuel, it's a brand new restaurant, and we really don't want to, you know, get people agitated and wondering, you know, what's going on. But I asked him, I said, you know what, do you remember we went to regular schools in St. John's, Arizona? He said, yeah. I said, well, we're trying to correct some of that stuff. I think this young man can do that. And he did. We hired, like I say, I belonged to the County Council for 10 years, and he did a lot of good job. This Mr. Chachias, who was the guy that ran for office, became a board supervisor, was there for a long time. He opened up a lot of jobs for Hispanics. Opened up a lot of jobs at NEU. It was still Arizona State College at the time, then NEU. But jobs started opening not only at the federal and local levels, but also in businesses. The banks and other people started hiring minorities in good positions, not just at the bottom. So we did a lot of good. The County Council did a lot of good. We also helped our first Hispanic governor in Arizona, Governor Castro. We got him elected. And we helped a lot of other governors that ran, and other people that ran for different positions, representatives and senators in Arizona. So we did a lot of good. And I wasn't the only one, because they had organizations in Phoenix and other areas in Arizona that helped. But we certainly did our part in Flagstaff. I was just going to add about my father not being able to go. He didn't go in the service. My dad got run over by a boxcar in a railroad when he was a young man, So he couldn't, he had a limp and couldn't walk. But he got drafted 4 times in World War II. And I remember that we'd all go to the railroad station, put him on the train, and we'd all be bawling and crying. And he'd say, hey, I'm just going to Phoenix. I'll be right back, because they're not going to take me. He couldn't bend his knee or his leg. So he knew he wasn't going to pass the physical. But they tried. They tried to draft him 4 times, and 4 times he came home. Because he'd come to Phoenix and sent him back. But he always was very proud that we did.
Can you touch on just some of your favorite Mexican dishes or traditional foods?
My Mexican tradition is all Mexican. I remember any time that I went to doctors, they put down what you eat, and you tell them, and they'd come back and say, you have to be kidding. You should have diabetes. You should be obese. You should have this and that because you're eating all the wrong foods. Well, they don't understand that we grew up with it. It's something that's in your system. Maybe there's some people that are sick of it, or get sick from it. But in my family, nobody's ever gotten anything from the food that we eat. I just had my boys here, as I said earlier, for Mama's 1-year anniversary of her death. I cooked pozole with all the treatments. I had beans with pork, salt pork. I had enchiladas. I had green chili, red chili, all the good stuff. And my boys, they came home and they hadn't had that stuff because they're all married to Blue Eyes. I don't like to say white. All my boys are married to Blue Eyes. So they don't cook all this stuff. And you should have seen them eat. They were going out, it was like going out of style. I made a lot of pozole, a big old pot. And the next day I had them home again and they said, Dad, you still have pozole? And I said, yeah. So I had to reheat it and they went at it again. I had enchiladas, I had eggs, you name it. But they wanted pozole because they don't get it. But it's our traditional food. Pork and chicken is something we had at home because we raised them. We raised chickens and pork at home. So anything we could make with pork, we did. And of course, chicken. We always had fried chicken or something. And plenty of eggs, always. Because of it.
I don't know if it was around holiday time or whatnot, but you would kind of like open up your house, like as like people just would come and go and stop by. Like I don't know if it was holiday time, but can you describe that?
That was holiday time, and it was also politics. It was political because I was already involved, and the only way that I could get some people to the house, I started having a Christmas party. Everybody would come. Mom and I would make 50 dozen tamales. We'd make 2 big pots of pozole, along with all the treatments, and of course we had tortillas, and we'd have beans with salt pork on them. And people would come all day long, in and out. And there's people that would come in with tamales, as I'd say, they say, man, Ethel, can I take some of these tamales home? We'd say, no, you can eat all you want here, but you can't take it home, because we had a lot of people coming in and out. But a lot of the politicians, a lot of the wannabes came, people that were influential in business that we needed to have us, give us support, they'd come. So that's how it started. We had that thing going probably 20 years. Lots of people. Made a lot of friends there. A lot of my good friends still today because of that. Yeah. Partly political and partly traditional, because we always have something for Christmas and we always have family. And because I started making a lot of friends, I started inviting some of them. And then, of course, some of the ones that were politicians, I'd say, well, you can't forget him or her. So, that's how it all started.
If you had one thing that you could try and instill or pass on to a young Hispanic or Mexican American child that's growing up right now, what would you want them to hopefully strive for or understand?
That also being political, I got involved and I became a school board member for 8 years. I ran for that office. I was proud to say that I beat a doctor out twice. I was #1 vote getter both times. So I served 8 years in the Flagstaff Unified School District. I think one of the things that I could advise young people is to keep striving, keep learning, be proud of what you are, don't forget who you are. Get as far as you can, go as high as you can, but always, if you can, reach down, grab somebody, help him up. I said that in one of my speeches. Help people up. I told them a joke about this is at one of the school board members, one of the school graduations. When I had a big speech on that, and one of the jokes that I said was, there was a Mexican boy walking down the beach, picking up crabs and throwing them in this bucket. And this lady came by and says, "Hey, son, you better put a cover on that bucket because those crabs are going to get out." And the boy says, "No, they won't get out. These are Mexican crabs. When one tries to get out, the other one's pulling down." And I said, let's not do that. Always, I don't care how high you go, and I wish you the very best. Get to the very highest point you can, but always reach down and help somebody. That would be my advice.
Like, what does music mean to you? Is it really important? Is it?
Again, music was very prominent in my family. My whole family, most of them were musicians. My dad was a very good musician, but he didn't have the patience when I was a kid and I wanted to learn. He didn't have the patience to teach me. And he'd always say, "You guys are Garcias," which is my mom's maiden name. And my mom would say, "No, don't say Garcia, teach him." But he didn't have the patience. So I didn't learn how to play guitar till I was about 40. I went to a family reunion, and all my cousins were taking turns playing at the family dance. And I got jealous. And I told my wife, I says, "Honey, for Father's Day, buy me a guitar or don't buy me anything." And she bought me a guitar. And I have a good friend who taught me, Ernesto Tachias. He taught me just about everything I know. I have cousins that taught me something, but he's the main one. And he's the one that finally got me to singing. Not that I'm a great singer or a great musician, but I love it. I love my guitar. I love the tradition because there was always music in my family. But I love to sing, even though I don't think I'm the best, but I like it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you have to share with us today?
I'm gonna sing one of the songs that's traditional, which is Las Mañanitas. This song is played for anniversaries, for baptismals, for parties, for going away, for dying. We play it almost everywhere in most occasions, and it's been around forever. But I'll play that.
Excellent.
This other song, De Colores, I think the first time I heard it is when Cesar Chavez was fighting the farm workers for better solutions and better advantages for the farm workers. And then I think the Crucillo, the Mexican organization, trying to invite people to become better Catholics and young people to come in. And that's when it really took off, De Colores. And I'll sing it. They have verses in English that I just learned, and I'm going to do that too so people know what I'm talking about, okay? This song is called De Colores. That's De Colores. And I was 12, she was 10. And then I didn't see her again till I came home from on leave. I came home from Japan. I was on leave, and the same cousin said, you know what? "You want a double date tonight?" I said, "Well, I don't have a date." He said, "Well, you remember Ethel?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, she's working at this tiny diner here." I said, "Well, let me go see what she looks like." We met. I took her to the drive-in, and we never separated. I went back to Camp Lejeune or Camp Middleton in California. 6 months later, I came home, and we started dating and never separated. We were married 61 years. We were together probably 62.
And there you have it, in his own words and his own truth. That is my Tata's version of his Hispanic heritage and his background and where he comes from and what he's proud of. So with that being said, and as we're wrapping up Hispanic Heritage Month this year, I'd like to invite everyone to think about, try to remember, where do you come from? What's your background, your individualness, your uniqueness? Because those things are what make you you, and they are what make you special. But then remember also that everyone has their own background. Everyone has their own truth to tell. And when we bring all those truths together, that's what makes us a community. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and we'll see you next time.